I'd like to thank you all for coming this evening to our Brentford and Syon Area Forum. I am the newly chosen chair for the forum. My name is Councillor Maureen Sharma. I'm from Brentford East. I would like to thank Councillor Bowring for holding the fort for the last 3 years, and a job well done. So thank you, Dan. This evening we will be having, as you can see up here, the forum agenda is up there. So we would just like to note if there are any apologies for absence and declarations of interest and any other communication from any of the members. I know that we've had apologies from Councillor Guy Lambert as he is away. Is there any other notifications? No? All good? Okay, thank you. We will be having the action tracker and action plan presentation, which will be led by Chris in a moment. So if I can hand over to Chris so he can do the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening all. So I'm Christopher Jarvis, your Community Development Officer across the Brentford Borough, so that includes Syon, Brentford West and East. So I'm going to be introducing you for the action plan and action tracker, just to give you an understanding of what it is and what it would mean for the forum moving forward. So what is an area forum action plan? An area forum action plan is kind of our way for, or new way for residents and community groups to raise local priorities and their aspirations and needs, to work with the council, partners and the wider community to develop actions. So each action in addition kind of will be championed by a councillor who will bring everyone together to achieve the action and report it back to the forum with updates until that action has been achieved. So how are items added to the action plan? So the idea proposal is for residents to share their idea with a member or a community development officer, myself, which will lead into a development and review. So the idea is developed and reviewed with potential participants to see if it can be done. So for the forum and the action plan, if supported, the idea is to present it to the area forum and add it as an action plan with a councillor or an action champion. So to implementation and the updates, the action champion of the forums are a working group, guides them, and provides progress updates online and at forums. So the achievement listing, once completed, the action is listed as an achievement on the forum's Let's Talk Hounslow page, which you'll most likely see across the marketplace as a QR code, which will take you straight through to the Let's Talk Brentford and Syon. So what is an area forum action plan? What it is, it means to support residents to raise local priorities, aspirations and their needs with the aim of achieving outcomes. It's a way to kind of bring the communities, the council and partners together to develop and deliver an achievable action. So it's a tool to support councillors as community leaders and a tool for communities to keep the council to account and keep the focus of the area forum for delivering the outcomes for residents. What it is not is a list of unachievable actions with unclear outcomes. It's a list of actions that does not have support from those affected or those who would deliver on them. A list of items which should be dealt with as part of business as usual. We have other mechanisms for that, and is not a replacement for petitions. So different ways to add items to the area forum action plan is by contacting your local councillors or officers like myself, or online, or throughout the Let's Talk platform where you can ask questions directly, which will come through to myself, or at the area forum that we're in now within the marketplace, linking to the reception desk, or if you see the community development desk, to come seek support. So this is just to show you what an action plan is versus an action tracker. Yeah, so the action plan, it does not include members' casework. It does not include business as usual requests raised at the forum. It does not include information requests, updates, or forum questions. And it does not include petitions or complaints. Following on into the action plan, crossing those over what I've just mentioned, it does not include members' casework, it does not include petitions or complaints, and it does not include community projects as an action plan. But what it does do, it does include business as usual requests raised at the forum. It does include information requests, updates, and responses to forum questions, which will carry over into our next forum, which will lead into the winter round. With the going back to the action plan, what that does include is community projects. So from myself or speaking to your councillors with any local updates, it's our job to kind of prioritise those community projects as keeping on top of those as a plan. And councillors and officers and community will provide updates where we're at, providing you that updates. Leading on to the tracker, it's councillors and officers will provide updates again as at the forum. So anything that is tracked should be updated within the next forum through the area forums that we do yearly throughout the year. And working closely with your councillors to provide those ward updates if it's something that is achievable. If it's not achievable, it will go on to business as usual. And this is the short intro which takes you straight to our Let's Talk platform. So where the action plan and action tracker will be updated on our one page moving forwards. So if there's any updates, it will all be provided on this link for you. Okay, so you can scan the QR code for future reference, or you can speak to myself. But everything from forums, leads, and onwards will be just on a one-page format that includes recordings, action plan and action tracker updates. That also provides local updates within your community as well, that could lead to community projects, achievements of what you've done. I myself will design a short new article for you, and it will be updated. And also, if any councillors wanted to raise any updates, they can also follow up on here as well. And then that will lead into the next forum, into the winter rounds, where it kind of leads into a tracker, providing ward updates. Thank you so much. I mean, if there's any questions from councillors or residents. Just wait for the mic, 1 second. Sorry.
Can you provide an example of an action plan? Because you've described what it is not and what it is, but without giving examples of what it might be.
So an open action plan?
Yeah, like several examples of what an action plan is.
So with the work that we do as your CDO, if there's a local priority or an aspiration or a need that we feel we can achieve, that in terms of like spaces or supporting with kind of grants within the area, or having one-to-one conversations with you when you want to bring projects forward to us, that will come as a plan for us to work closely with you. So if it's an achievable plan, we will then work very closely with you, kind of getting you into a space if we can, or try and working with you with the mini groups that we have in the past, is trying to see how we can collaborate strongly together within the area. You also have your officers as well, who kind of sit with you and try and also introduce yourselves as well. But it kind of brings the community kind of working closely together, where we've kind of started a cross-collaboration, more working closely with our residents in terms of ad hocing of each other with the skills that you have in the community. But we as well will kind of be the backing of that as well to see how we can break down and tackle those goals together. I hope that kind of makes sense. This is just the introduction stage for it. Yeah, so in our next forum, we will provide more of the examples on it, and it will be updated in the Let's Talk. So we're just introducing this model for now, and we're at the beginning stages of it. So you'll see more of it in our next area forum, which will be on the 15th of September, where I will give you a full update of what the action plan should look like and what would look like moving forward. Okay?
Any other questions? Yes.
Can you define business as usual, please? It's a bit of a loose term.
Yeah. Is that a question, Martin? Yeah. So, I mean, with business as usual, if there's any like long-term goals, for example, TFL or projects, for example, those are business as usual. And when it leads into kind of ward updates with casework with your councillors, those lead under business as usual. Whereas quick wins in terms of maintenance or we having one-to-one visits where we meet up, those for me is business as usual as myself, whereas they're kind of quick wins. But if it's a long-term goal where we see as unachievable now, that will continue as business as usual, where we link into our local council services and try to provide updates since leading into the next forum. That makes sense. So the quick wins, if you ask me a question at the forum, for example, and I link it into an officer, for example, anything on the housing, and they just provide me a quick update on the question that you've asked, that is a quick win, because I've answered the question. If we meet up in person and we're thinking about projects, then it's for us to sit down and plan until we tackle those goals that we want to achieve. So those are kind of the quick wins of what we're kind of working through. And they're kind of working what we've been working on in the past as well, until now. Yeah. Let's Talk platform. But also through me as well to kind of keep in communication with you. But this is just to focus on the Brentford area itself. Yeah. Yeah. For the wider communities of Brentford, Syon, West and the East wards. But for the wider community, we'll just go onto our normal website across the borough.
It would be up to us as councillors to actually be relaying it back to our community, to the wards as well. So you would find out through communication with the officers and the teams that are involved as well.
It's true. So there is, we are testing our methods in terms of communications, especially trying to link into new ways with our newsletters and feeding into the post as well. So we are kind of working around the best way to try to communicate outreach to our community and trying to keep everyone informed with it. I know not everyone is digitally inclined to kind of follow up with everything online at the moment, so we are trying to best our ways of how we can tackle those comments and communications to make sure everyone's up to date. Not to say it will start change for tomorrow, but we will get there, Martin. We will. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. I'd like to just move on now to our community focus groups. Sorry, Theo.
Sorry, Chair, I'd love to be able to ask a question as well. That's right. Thanks, Chris. Could you just clarify who precisely will mediate or decide whether or not a certain suggestion or request counts as an appropriate and acceptable action to work on, number one? I'll come back. I'm going to do it one by one. Take that one.
Who decides? So that would be the decided champion from the chair or to the sides to follow up with that with their community.
Sorry, so the chair of the area forum decides whether or not it's an action that's acceptable for this purpose?
Yeah, or the champion of the action plan and tracker. So they will liaise with the action champion of it. So with the chair decides who the champion will be to take up the action plan and tracker to follow it through into the next forum. So they will decide who leads on that priorities moving forward.
Okay, you had more slides telling us what couldn't be a community call for action than you had on what could, which actually seemed a little bit scary to me. There is already an awful lot of options in terms of statute and statutory duties on the council in terms of both councillor and community calls for action. Are you planning to inform residents of those options as well, or only Hounslow's own rather restricted version of the same?
Kind of our own. The reason why I said it is because it's made to keep a constant tracker, so whatever follows on from the forum when it comes to questions or what we do out in the community, this is a model to design that and make sure it follows through with the updates into our next forum.
Sorry, I'm losing the track altogether now. So is the whole purpose of this to give you something to put on the agenda for these forums, or
Yes.
is the purpose to get something done? Which of them is it?
So it's to get something done and to follow it through into our next agendas with an update.
So the primary purpose is to get something done. In which case, if we want to get something done, and presumably it's something that the residents would like to do, why are councillors determine whether or not they should or should not be allowed to have that as a potential action? Why shouldn't it be their decision to decide what they want to put forward? Which they can, actually, as a community call for action under the, where it is, Police and Justice Act 2006. All the details are online. Or they could under section 119 of the Local Government and Public Involvement in Health Act, which allows for community councillor calls for action, all of which place a duty on the council to do something, rather than an obligation on you to get something right before anything gets done. So can I just suggest that if you are going to raise this as a proposal, you should inform people of their existing rights that they can exercise any day of the week without the permission of a councillor or the council in order to get something done in their community.
So this is
You
actually...
might find that more useful, Martin.
So Thea, this is a useful tool to be able to get more engagement from our residents, for all of us, you know, for all of us to have it. We actually trialled something very similar, didn't we, Dan, when we did a Facebook post originally, when we asked the residents of Brentford what they would like to see at an area forum. We was wanting to empower our residents to come and give us suggestions and ideas. I am very open to all suggestions. I am not going to be vetoing people's suggestions. I'm very much for the community and want to know what the community wants, what our children want, what our elderly want, and how to make living conditions a better place for everyone to live and to thrive. So I'm not here to veto anybody's ideas.
Does that mean you're giving an assurance that no ideas will be vetoed?
No ideas will be vetoed.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Can you wait for the mic, please, so we can hear you? Thank you.
Is this? Okay. Well, surely then the decision shouldn't stay with you. It shouldn't be your decision to take whichever action plan the community presents as one of your decisions. It should be the community's decision. So that has to be part of this action tracker, this action plan. It has to be part of this scheme, that the community is the one that decides rather than the councillors.
Well, the community will be deciding, so the community will be putting forward their ideas, and then it'll be coming to us, and then we will then be saying, right, this can go onto the agenda at this forum.
Then you are vetoing it.
Well, it's not vetoing, because it will come forward, because there will be a tracker. It will be a live tracker. Is that correct, Chris?
That is correct.
And so therefore, if there's not enough time to say, for example, there's three ideas that have come forward, or 4 ideas that have come forward for one forum. If there's not enough time to give enough time to that particular idea, that will then go on to the next forum. Or if it can be. If something can happen in between forums, then you will see that on the tracker. But I'm happy for Councillor Yates to speak about.
So, just to clarify, we're not saying that we won't be dealing with any of the issues, but at the end of the meeting, the chair will be deciding which councillor will champion that issue. So then at the next meeting, they can give an update. So we're not going to be deciding what issues we're going to be taking on, just who will champion that issue and give an update at the next meeting.
To be fair, Chair, any resident can ask any councillor if they want that councillor to champion an issue. It's not up to you or anybody else to
Yes, we're
determine
aware.
what a
Thank you, Theo.
councillor can and cannot take as an action.
We are aware of that, Councillor Tennyson. Thank you for letting me know. So I'd like to move on. I mean, this is very positive, but I would also like to move on to something very positive. Now, we have a lot of brilliant community focus groups within our wards who do a lot for our community and for our children. So I would like to introduce Paul Keane, who is from Team Keane, who has been doing lots of great work within the community. I'd like for him to come up and to give a short presentation, please.
I've got 3 gadgets to hold. Randy, you're going to have to come up and hold one of these clicky things. I think this one, I've got 3 gadgets here. Is it? Oh, that one. Amazing. Do a Chris Whitty next slide. Yeah. Is this working? Oh, it is. It's like stand-up comedy, this. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. And I've come to just speak for a quick 10 minutes about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and why. And I run a boat club, which has grown over the course of the last 4 years of being here in Brentford. But I've worked in the London Borough Hounslow for the last 17 years, running projects, programmes, and the bread and butter of what I previously did was like a performance coach, which when I got here, that changed very quickly. And so we're known as Team Keane because it's Paul and Miranda Keane. But we've actually moved into a charitable company, which is called Brentford Community Boathouse. And we set up about last year with this idea and this intention to grow what we were doing, but also to offer to the local community something what I thought was really special, but then also there was a need. And where it started is I'd run a lot of activities, specifically in water sports, but we were finding that we had, a major part of that group had come from a different demographic, and we were servicing a lot of kids from Richmond, Ealing, and various other places. And I really had to think long and hard about setting this charitable company and moving everything across, the commitment and various other things. But the purpose of it is to try and, we're hearing that word a lot, community, but to bring all parts of the community together. So do we have a code word for the next slide? So I've been working with the councillors behind us, a lot of them. They've given me a lot of their time, and thriving community teams and London Borough Hounslows. But indirectly through other organisations, I've raised well over £600,000 over the course of the last 2 years to try and get this endeavour going. It's kind of scraping the surface, but it has engaged a lot of activities, and we kind of strive for those 4. Is it okay if I go back one? We strive for like 4 main things, but specifically with water sports in the London Borough Hounslow, and I think that was more why we were working with kids from other boroughs. We weren't really reaching, a good part of Hounslow's demographic. And specifically for myself, my mum was from Bedfont. I was born in Hammersmith, been a Londoner all my life, in and out. They're making it a bit cooler in here, it's a bit hot. The next step of what I was trying to do is actually, engage with that side of the community which hasn't had opportunities. And on the next slide, if we see here, it's not just rowing that we do. We do fitness classes. We predominantly do kayaking, canoeing. We got a Cornish gig club there. I don't know if you saw, we did the Brentford pubs Cornish gig club and just brought people down. So we're really trying to engage with everyone in different elements. But the bread and butter of where myself and my wife had come from, I'd previously been a teacher in Hammersmith, an art teacher actually. I wanted to really try and help people's lives. And one of those elements that really helped us in the offering, there's lots of water sports, and there's the people that were coming to us, the children, had no real understanding watching the Olympics or various other things, or ability to be able to understand what they were getting themselves into. And on the next slide you see here, like the main bit was with water sports predominantly, it was, you know, getting towards marginalised groups or people, specifically in Hounslow, from the housing estates, and working with, you know, we got a school up in Feltham, Rivers Academy, trying to get into engage. And I really felt over the course of the last 4 years, Brentford was the best place for us to do it, but I just couldn't get to the next step. So we've most recently had a grant from the thriving community, but it wasn't the grant which is part of what I'm here for you today, which is actually engaged with it. It's the fact of the help and the support of the other parts from outside of just the application of that with the other groups which I've started to work with. And in Brentford, you'll see on the next slide, we had to really work with a lot of schools. You know, Green Dragon Estate. We got all the year 6s out the other day, put 60 of them on the water. And it's a much harder context than it was when I was providing activities for London Borough Richmond, Ealing. And I'd found that from setting this up, that our original bread and butter was, you know, bringing kids in, making them pay for sports and working with that. But I had to find a way to engage with this side by predominantly going to the secondary schools. Green Dragon's obviously a primary, all of the secondary schools, Gumley House, you know, Brentford Girls' School, Green School for Boys, Green School for Girls, and I was coming across the same problem all the time, which was getting through the first step. And over the course of the last 4 years, that's become a big success, and a big part of what we're trying to do is get the local residents actually active and out. And on the next slide, you'll see here, we set this, I call it campaign, but it was like part of that application, what we did with Thriving Communities. We set out like 4 pillars of what we were going to do. Like the community days were fun, but we, you know, working with Martin and the Brentford Voice, you know, doing the Canal Festival, you know, working with other groups, running other activities, and we've got 4 or 5 different organisations that are at our site, voluntary organisations, working with parents from the rowing club to, you know, provide a regatta, and working with like an environmental day. We just had local residents coming down and doing a litter pick and various other things. I found that through engaging that way by running the community days, not only gave us more exposure, but started getting people aware of what we were trying to do. The state schools, you know, which is very close to my heart, predominantly as, you know, spending the last sort of 22 years working with children, I wanted to be able to get into the right environment with those children where they felt it was a safe space. And then the bit is that what we have found is that when I started working with some of the different housing estates, that a high proportion of kids that we were working with, you know, that had special educational needs, or that had, you know, disabilities, or that had, you know, management problems and various other things, it took a larger amount of resource to actively try and get them engaged. But the priority of what we were trying to do, of working with the younger generation, is to work with them so we had more success getting them out of some of the problems that they may or would have had growing into, and helping them now rather than at a later stage. And on the last part of the other part of the London Borough of Hounslow has helped us and assisted to us at the moment is, you know, we didn't have a facility. You can glamorise our sea containers as changing rooms, but they are just metal sheds is what we've got at the moment. And water sports take a high amount of resource to actually generate, from paying coaches to insurance to equipment and various other things, and the constant running costs of that without our own facilities make it much harder. But we engage with the councillors, we engage with the officers, and, you know, they've come through with some initial funding which has helped us get to the next stage. And then you'll see on the next slide here is that I'm sorry, I've done it, a quote by Paul Keane. I don't know if that reads well, but like it really does start with us as people, and myself, I've obviously put a lot of years into working in Hounslow, but specifically I wanted to make something sustainable, and on that's the reason why we called it Brentford Community Boathouse. Is our ultimate goal was, you know, in the plans for, you know, not a boat shed but a site and a facility, is to have a community space, and that's what I found, you know, working with other boroughs, specifically Richmond and other ones, is it helps us access, you know, a free or subsidised space to get more community groups and more projects working. And over the course of this last year and this year of running it, my aim is for Brentford to have a community space. And how it is designed or what it is. I mean, at the moment we have a subsidised space which we have through basically begged Tartar, and we got a peppercorn lease on from one space, but everything's short term. And to make this work, I'm obviously seeking and searching for a long term space. And then on this last slide here, what it's all about. I mean, this was from 2024. It said 1,100 children have come through, but in this year alone, we're on 3 times of that. And not generally this actually happens, but like of the children attending from Hounslow, like it said, 10% lived in the bottom quintile of crime-related deprivation in the UK. So out of 1,100 kids, that was 100 kids. And most rowing clubs will have 40 kids in them, let alone one kid from a background that comes, that comes from a demographic that you wouldn't be seeing. So I was really proud of that, but that was just a stepping stone of what we wanted to achieve long term. And part of the reason which I'm here for you today, to discuss and say this and say, a thank you to getting this far. So people sat here in the seats have also helped us get this far, is making a sustainable future. And from that future, on the last point here, is like I'm obviously picking a model which is a charitable company, which is investing in funding and various other things. But for it to long term happen, it needs other people here and now to support. And one of the main bits is that as I found from where I first started when I got here, to be able to work with the local community, you have to adapt. You have to work with what's in front of you, but then as things come through, realise and changed. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, when I was, taking kids to national schools last year, and I obviously was previously in the independent sector, I wanted us to have an equality. And what happened over the years when I'd seen initiatives and funding, they get the pictures out, all looks very nice, but there's no long-term benefit. And the long-term benefit which I was trying to create for Brentford and the future of Brentford was to bring groups together, which was, I found, specifically in children, was the hardest bit. You got children from Brentford, girls' school there that have had no previous experience of coming down to the water, and they're, going alongside some kids from, the Green School for Boys. It's like bringing those groups together. And I myself and my wife as coaches, and we found that we had ended up in a more of a pastoral role. And I say a pastoral role in the sense of being a teacher, at tutor time. Are you okay? How are you doing? Did you go to your PE lesson? It was that sort of level that I was working in Hounslow with the Hounslow kids, and specifically kids from the borough, which I wanted to keep and support. And that's for the long-term benefit and future, so that as they become adults or their parents come down, to try and create some more equality. But on that last part of the areas that we're working with, the funding which I've obviously received through other sources, is specifically there to help and support children that are in need, but then also to work alongside kids that want to get on and do it. And I'm immensely grateful today to the support I've had, specifically from councillors behind us and officers. But the next step, what I'm coming here is also to say, is to raise awareness, but to create something that's sustainable for the future, we need a space. And we're on a site at the moment, which is a lovely site, just shy of a few £1 million to get to the next step. But to make that happen, I wanted to just say, if people have ideas that they think, community-based ideas that they want to work with, we're supporting, new things. We've got a yoga instructor that wants to start, walks, which we're applying at the moment for a larger grant to, for a youth worker to come in and help us support us to the next steps. But in this presentation today, however well I hope I've put myself, is to try and create a place in Brentford where other people from other boroughs can see. And as myself and my wife know from working in this industry for 20 years, there isn't very many other people, let alone in London, in this country, that run a facility in this way. I've got a little bit of video at the end, if me and Gary get it right, just to show you the first 2 minutes. Excuse my attire, I've been on the water.
Brentford Rowing Club, and we've got some interesting story today, because we've seen, I've seen some of the kids coming ashore, having had a great time on the boats, And here's Paul, and here's Vicky, who's head of PE at Nishka. So, what have they been doing, Vicky?
So they're taking part in a 4-week programme where they're going to be introduced to the water. Most of the children who've got with us now have not had the previous experience. And families are not familiar with water sports such as rowing. So we're looking at trying to introduce a new activity and also broaden their horizons, get them to experience life on the river, and take part in sport in an environment that they haven't previously done before. And on top of that, look to try and improve some of their fundamental core skills, things like core strength, balance, coordination. A lot of these children we've got with us today would really benefit from that.
Yeah, well, I know you, Paul, one of your difficulties is getting people, especially from other communities, to participate, to show the enthusiasm. So is this helping?
Yes, John, and I'm really thankful to Vicky and the Nishcombe School, because when we reached out, we were really struggling to get people from communities that from backgrounds which weren't familiar with water or going on the water. And I found that it's a really good experience today, specifically with the kids. We're working with kids from with learning difficulties and different backgrounds, and the school's been so supportive to help us to get them on the water. And culturally, we found, obviously in the London Borough Hounslow, that it's been very difficult.
Yeah, so I didn't edit that properly towards the end, but the bit that I was trying to get in reference there is that was Nishcombe School. Like we've got a Sikh school that we're working with, and we're bringing the SEN department down, and there's some real areas which we'd like to develop over the course of the next 4 years, particularly in this space. But if there's anyone that would like to speak to me today, or have got any ideas to support any community groups that they work with, or how to help get to the next stage, I'm most grateful for your time and your support.
Thank you, Paul. I'd like to now introduce Sarita Roberts from the Rihanna Development Network, who will now give us a short presentation on the fabulous work that they also do. Thank you. Oh, Roger Zororio, thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello. Yeah. My name is Roger Sorero. I'm the director of Rihanna Development Network. What is Rihanna? So many people might think it's Rihanna, the musician. No, it's totally different. Rihanna is a charity based in the London Borough of Hounslow. We were set up in 2004. As you can see, I'm an immigrant myself. I moved into the UK in the early 90s. When I moved into the UK, as a young person trying to settle in a new community, it was quite challenging. That brought the issue of working together with the communities. That's how Rihanna was born. Initially, it was to try and bring people together, bring communities together, talk about issues around immigration, issues around community engagement, issues around health. Then eventually, it came to us that we are a member of this community. What can we be able to do together? So the name Rihanna has a historical context. It's a river in Kenya which passes between two communities. This river is a permanent river, and during the olden days, people used to fight over the use of water on the river. It forced the elders of the community to bring people together. So we see Rihanna as an organization bringing people together for mutual good. Rihanna's mission has been founded on the belief that people only need opportunities to be able to settle in the community to achieve their full potential. As I've told you, as a young person, trying to get education, trying to settle, trying to bring up a family, it forced us to look at how can we be able to contribute to the community in which we live. It is from that background that we decided to start working with young people in the London Borough of Hounslow. More specifically of late, we are working in Brentford. If you could move to the next slide, please. The councillors and the communities have really helped us. Somebody might think that is only £1,000, but for the community, a grassroots organization, that's enough for us. We got equipment to set up a youth club. in Mission Hall, which is now thriving because of that funding from the thriving communities. Somebody might think it's just a small, but for the young people who don't have a safe space where they can be able to go, that now allows them to have a youth club activities every single week. And Sarita Roberts leads that, looking at the young people who might not have where to go after school, so they have a space where they can be able to go and take activities. Next slide. Why or what are some of the things we do with the young people? We want to create a safe space where young people can come, they can talk to their peers, they can be able to socialize, such that when they are from school, the parents can know they're at a place where they can enjoy, they have some refreshments, but they also learn life skills. They're able to communicate with each other. They're able to learn social skills. They're able to just relax and be young people. And the equipment is for them to be able to use, and also to create a safe and community outreach where we go out into the community, talk to people, and understand what their needs are. And then we can be able to have a cohesive society. Next, please. So what do we offer? As an organization, that's our normal weekly day. On a Monday, we run a community allotment. The community allotment is in Way Avenue. I know we are based in Brentford, but Way Avenue as well. This is a community allotment that brings people together. We use it as an outdoor learning space where all the members of the community can come in, whether the elderly, the young. They learn in such that the older generation can be able to teach the young people how to grow. And while they are doing that, the young people also learn about various life skills like communication. They're able to learn maths. When they are growing, they're measuring the distance. They're looking at germination, so health and well-being all done there. Then in the evening, we run a football session for the young people at Q House in Chiswick to be able to bring young people who are not able to afford to pay to join clubs. So when we put this free, it allows the young people to come and do that. Also in the Duke's Meadows in Chiswick, we also run a youth club activity there for the older members of the young, that is from the secondary school. So they do that on a Wednesday. On Wednesday, we also have Golden Lives. This is like a coffee morning, talking to the members of the community where they come in. They have a safe space, they can come and talk, and they are also supported, whether it's filling in applications form, whether they want to just use the Wi-Fi to be able to be held, because like now, everything is online. We have members of the community who are not digitally savvy. So it's such times where we come, talk to them, and we're able to support them in filling in the forms. Then we have the food distribution program. We partnered with the Felix program, whereby on an evening, on a Wednesday, we get the food, then the members of the community who might be struggling, some of them are in work, but then the money is not able to go further. So they come and get nutritious meal, which they can be able to go and cook. And then in the evening, we have the free gym, courtesy of the London Borough of Hounslow. The young people who are not able to afford paying of the gym can be able to go and access that. And then we have the youth club activities as well in Mission Hall, which we run on Fridays. On a Saturday, we run supplementary school. The supplementary school here is to support the young people who might not be able to afford a tuition. Some of them might be having special education needs, and because of the size classes, some of them don't get enough support because of the number of either teaching assistants not able to support, because the numbers dwindled over the last couple of years. So for us is to give them a chance where we can be able to have one-to-one support to those young people to be able to support them. Out of that program, we've realized that we have a number of young people who, for one reason or another, have come out of school. They are missing from school in the sense that they are not going through the normal curriculum. So we take them through the functional skills if they are not able to go and do the GCSE routes. But we try to show them that there could be other routes you can be able to follow up in your education. And then, why am I here today? It's just to share this so that we can also have partners we can be able to work with, who can be able to support us, so that the communities can come together, so that we do this for the benefit of everybody. A cohesive society is better for all. So if we work together, it can only make Hounslow a better place to live in. And that is the reason as to why we are here. So just to share what every little thing we are doing, so that other members can also join us, and to be sustainable. Sustainability depends on each and every one of us. The money is not enough, but you could have other ideas on how we could be able to sustain this organization, whether it is through volunteering and other ways. So you can be able to get in touch with us, or whoever wants, we can also be able to talk after this to show where we can share ideas, how you can get involved, whether volunteering or sharing your skills. Once again, thank you so much for allowing us to come and talk to you and listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I'm sure you're all very grateful for these two community focus groups that have come this evening. They do such great work for our community and for our youth as well. I'd like to now introduce Halima Hussain from Thriving Communities, and she will give a presentation on the Thriving Communities Fund, which our previous guests have discussed with their projects that they've been doing.
Thank you, Councillor Sharma. Thank you, everyone. My name is Halima. Oh, that's very loud. I'm one of the Thriving Communities grant managers. So I work for the London Borough of Hounslow. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the grants that we offer, why we offer these grants, and I suppose what we've been doing in Brentford and Syon. Let's hope that what's in front of me matches what's behind me. So what is the Thriving Communities Fund? I mean, what it says, we're trying to support communities to thrive. We're looking at how we can support charitable organisations and voluntary groups to improve the lives of Hounslow residents and make Hounslow a more equal, greener, safer and vibrant place to live. And I think our two speakers have really shown how, different, in different ways and with different projects and different ambitions, we can really do that. So we've got three sort of main grant streams: our small grant, our revenue grant and our capital grant, and I'll go through these in more detail. But you're probably very keen to know where the budget comes from. So these grants are funded through kind of three main ways. Firstly, through the housing revenue account. So this is our council housing tenants. When they pay rent, a very small percentage of that rental income is used to fund our grants. Secondly, we have the Neighbourhood Community Infrastructure Levy, and this is a levy or a tax that developers pay when they, build shopping centres and put up blocks of flats. And the idea behind this funding is to kind of really improve the community infrastructure where kind of new populations are moving into communities. And finally, the budget also comes from public health. So lots of our grant priorities really focus on well-being and reducing health inequalities. What am I doing wrong? Ta-da. Yeah, it's not. You can do it for me. Can I go to the next slide, please? Don't worry. The next slide is going to talk about our small grant. So our small grant is up to £1,000, and this grant is quite unique. Oh, lovely. This grant is quite unique. So when you're a group of residents and you have an idea of something you want to do, most grant organisations will expect you to have a constitution and a bank account. This small grant, you're able to apply to this small grant without being an established community organisation. So you can be a group of neighbours that want to put on an event, you want to trial something out. So we give funding for up to £1,000, but generally the grants look like about £250, £500, and they're really to test kind of community ideas and community projects so that they can grow into the Brentford community boat houses or the Rihanna development networks and kind of really become established community projects. But we're really focused on things like environmental projects, health and wellbeing projects. There might be really simple things like getting some neighbours out together to kind of clean up a couple of streets, funding some bin bags and some litter pickers, or projects that maybe might just be a simple coffee morning once a month running at a local church, and you just need some money to fund some biscuits. And maybe you've been lucky and the church is giving you the venue for free, or a small amount to fund some venue hire costs. So for this year, we have £30,000 in the budget for the small grant, and applications are assessed kind of on a rolling basis, but we have kind of 3 meetings a year to assess those grants. So we've just kind of funded projects that are running this summer, and then we'll look in September to review the grants for projects that sort of run in November, so kind of Diwali projects, Christmas projects, those kind of projects. And then we've got another meeting in the new year, and we'll be thinking about projects that take place in kind of spring and summer. Our kind of biggest grant is our revenue grant, which is open at the moment. It's up to £30,000 for registered organisations, so you have to be a registered, constituted organisation, and that means you've got to have at least 3 members of 3 directors or 3 trustees who are not related to each other, and who really provide that kind of scrutiny for the work that your organisation is looking to do. And we are looking to, with this fund, which is open from now until the 15th of September, we're really focused on reducing inequality in the borough. And we want to reduce inequality in the borough either by demographics, so it might be for women, for people from ethnic minority backgrounds, for disabled people, it might be for an intersection of those identities, or it might be about a specific place. So we know there are parts of the borough, they are called the 10 Equality Opportunity Clusters, and very clever people have looked at what's called the indices of multiple deprivation, and they've looked at kind of by postcode and even at more granular detail than postcode, where our residents live that are kind of really struggling in terms of health inequality or income inequality, so like really our poorest communities. So we really want our funding to be allocated to those communities to essentially make the borough more equal. So we want projects to improve health and well-being, so make people healthier, improve their mental health, their physical health, and also improve what we're calling household resilience. And by that we really mean, like, how do we get more money into people's pockets so that they can afford or they can access things like, school, after-school clubs, or, youth projects, or pathways to work and employment. So people might be in low-paid work. We want to support all people to get into higher-paid work so that they've got more money in their pockets to pay for, those things that we talked about, that extra tuition that your child needs that you can't fund because you are so busy trying to put food on the table. And I think just to clarify, kind of when we talk about people, we're really talking about like a range of identities. So I've kind of listed them here: our children and young people, disabled residents, LGBT residents, our older residents, racially diverse residents, and women. And then finally, the capital grant, which currently isn't open. So I won't take too long talking about the capital grant, but this is essentially for capital expenditure. So that means like physical stuff. So improving a community building or a green space. We're looking to open this grant in October. And it's a 2-stage process. So we're happy to accept applications from residents and from organisations. So you might have an idea that your local park has some really outdated play equipment, and you want to make an expression of interest to our team. We'll look at that application and see, is it achievable? Do we have the funds? Do we think that play equipment needs replacing? And we might then accept that expression of interest and then take that forward to the parks team to deliver that project. But that currently isn't open, so I suppose it's kind of a bit of a moot point at the moment. But if you are interested in a capital grant, I have my contact details at the end of the presentation, and we can have a talk about kind of what that might look like and the kind of projects you're interested in. This is not very exciting, but our applications are made via an online portal. Rodgers is giggling there. Yeah, it can be a bit complicated sometimes to sign up, but once you've kind of got yourself registered, it's hopefully fairly straightforward to submit your applications. We never want online to be to stop you from applying for a grant. So if you are not online and you feel like, and we can come and meet you somewhere in a local library, and we can do a paper form if necessary. So we never want, IT to restrict you from applying to a grant. This is an overview of projects in Brentford and Syon. So it's really interesting. This is pink on my screen, but it's blue here. So these are fairly recent capital investments in Brentford and Syon. So we recently funded the Mulberry Centre, just over £45,000, to improve the centre with things like new carpets, flooring, CCTV, IT equipment, lighting and air conditioning. And for those of you that don't know, the Mulberry Centre is in the West Middlesex Hospital kind of campus, and they support people who have a cancer diagnosis and their families. So it's things like to support their mental well-being, to get them kind of, it's not the medical element of that cancer treatment, but really those, that kind of holistic view of our. The next project is the Brentford Community Boathouse, who have kind of talked about them here, so we awarded them £50,000. And finally, Alliance Arts. So this is a dance organisation, and we funded a feasibility study of a local scout hut with a view to kind of redevelop that space into a kind of a functioning dance studio, which, kind of we're looking forward to whether that kind of progresses. So far, that's just a feasibility study. The next slide is our revenue grantees. So these are all kind of mainly from kind of last year, the previous financial year. So we funded Speak Out in Hounslow, just under £30,000. They are a special, they're an organisation that support adults with autism and learning difficulties. And this project funded their Speak Out support programme, which is essentially kind of a telephone line to support adults with learning difficulties to access things like housing benefit, disability support, kind of any kind of advocacy and kind of form filling, because really there are huge barriers for people with learning difficulties to access kind of services that we really take for granted. Then the second project is the New Start Community Enterprise, and they ran a film project with young people. And then finally the Brentford Community Boathouse to run the outreach work, which we've talked about. And then finally, these are not all of the small grants in Brentford and Syon, but just a kind of a selection of some of the small grants. So an exciting one might be, I quite like this one, the Hounslow Repair Cafe. So this was a pilot repair workshop that was funded in March 25, which is going to be hosted by the Brentford Football Club. We've also supported Alliance Arts to contribute to their dance lessons. Friends of Waterman Park, we're supporting their summer bandstands, which will take place this summer, so kind of a musical programme in Waterman's Park. That's it for me. Sorry, not as exciting as our community partners. But yeah, all of our information is on our website, hounslow.gov.uk/TCF. So we've kind of got a very quick shortcut. I work with a colleague called Michelle, who's been at the council much longer than me, that you might have met before. But our contact details are on the slide deck, and our telephone numbers. So I'll just leave that up for a second if you want to take a photo. I think that gets shared maybe in some comms that go out. Brilliant. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Halima. I'd like to ask if there is any questions that you would like to ask Halima while she is still sat here. And please wait for the mic if there are.
And also, if you want to ask, could we our two community partners
yes,
as
and
well?
we can ask our community partners as well.
They're way more exciting than me.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Thanks for your presentations all.
Chair.
Yes, Thea, how can I help?
Halima, I've got a question for you. Looking at the three funding sources you've got, I presume that the HRA money has to be spent on projects relating to housing estates and tenants and the like. Presumably the public health funding has to have a health aspect to it as well. The only more general funding you have is the neighbourhood SIL. Neighbourhood SIL, as many members may know, is derived from developments in this area, and it has to be spent in consultation with you in this area. In terms of consultation with you in this area, that means you get to set what the priorities are, not the council. You get to set where that money ought to be. I'd like to know how that is achieved in the process you've described, because I didn't hear anything other than you can pick an application to indicate that these people are setting the priorities rather than the council. The other thing that the council is under a duty to do, because it is your money, is you have to report every year on how much SIL and how much neighbourhood SIL was collected in this area, and therefore how much might be available for you to set priorities for.
Can we ask?
You must
Theo,
also,
can I find out what the question is, please?
One last question. And you must also explain exactly where every single penny of that neighbourhood SIL from this area gets spent. Could you identify, A, how these people are setting the priorities, B, how much money you have collected in, say, each of the last 2 years, and C, how much is left?
I'll kind of go in reverse order, so I can't give you now the collections for the area, but we publish every year the infrastructure funding statement, so that sets out how much neighbourhood SIL and strategic SIL is collected, and then we have line by line how that's spent. So that's, but I can absolutely share with you specifically, not now, but I can go back and share with you the Brentford and Syon, specifically that collection, and specifically what is spent in Brentford and Syon, for the kind of going backwards through your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for that. Largely because my reading of the Act is very clear that you are under an obligation, not you personally, but the council is under an obligation to tell these people, not me, these people, exactly how much was collected every year, and every year allow them to set their priorities for how it is spent. And I haven't seen any of that. And I'm not too sure if Martin or anybody else has either.
Yeah, in terms of kind of the, I suppose the neighbourhood engagement piece, I mean, various councils do this in different ways. So the way that we set our agenda is the application process is open to everyone, and so anyone can apply to the capital grant. So that's how neighbourhood SIL is spent. We generally, so the council doesn't have a policy in which we kind of have a borough-wide policy, so SIL is actually spread across the borough. So there are obviously various readings of the SIL infrastructure levy and how that's kind of determined across different, obviously, boroughs in London and outside. But there is a real kind of variety in how that's done. But the way that it's done at the moment in Hounslow is that it's done on a borough-wide basis, so it's not specific either by ward or by area, forum area. And the kind of the consultation process is, I mean, every year we do a voluntary sector survey. Every 3 years we run an engagement process through the Thriving Community Strategy, where we work with voluntary groups and residents to agree local priorities. So there isn't, I suppose, a SIL-specific engagement process, but there is a wider engagement process. You've also got things like the area forums here, the ward walks, and the community insight kind of reporting as well. So it's more of, I suppose, an organic piece of engagement than a very specific SIL engagement process.
Thanks, Halima. I think that is my point. But actually, under the regulations, as far as neighbourhood SIL is concerned, you have to consult these people, not everybody. That's why it's called neighbourhood SIL. The clue is in the name. And failing to do that, in my view.
So the neighbourhood is the borough of Hounslow, Theo. The neighbourhood is Hounslow.
No, it's not. No.
In this instance,
let's be very clear. The statute very clearly identifies that where area forums exist, then the areas that you are neighbours are those area forums.
No, it doesn't. The neighbourhood is Hounslow. It's open to everyone in Hounslow.
I'll let my colleagues kind of answer, but yes, my understanding is it's been agreed that the neighbourhood of Hounslow is the area, and because there isn't a local plan,
Okay, and at what time did any resident get consulted on your decision to nationalise their SIL?
Thank you, Halima. I'd like to now go towards our ward updates, and I should have said at the very beginning, and I do apologise because it's my first time chairing this, I would like to introduce my fellow councillors. So going from my left to right, they will introduce themselves and then they will give their ward updates. Thank you. So I'll start with you.
Hello everyone, I'm Dan, I'm a councillor in Syon and Brentford Lock. I think a lot of the ward updates that myself and Catherine have discussed has been covered with a lot of the thriving community funding. So just a few other minor things. One is Robin Grove Recreation Ground has been getting a new playground. You might have been seeing that being built. That's nearly done. There's a few things like street furniture and kind of boundary fencing that's got to be done, but that's very soon to be open. Also, a bit of news on what was known as Block D. A lot of the residents call it the Shakespeare Block or Tinton House, but that's the council block in the High Street. We've got 3 units that are currently in the fit-out stage. So they're going to be opening very soon. We've got another 2 or 3 who are kind of a step behind, still sort of working out the niggles, hoping to move forward. And we are now, what we wanted to do was exhaust all local possibilities before we went to national change. We want to make it as local as possible. Two of the biggest units, which are on the very front, they're the most prominent, they're the biggest, therefore the rent is the most expensive. We haven't found a local offering who's been able to take that on. So we're now talking with a couple of national chains about taking those on. But yeah, that's all I have. Thanks, Chair.
Hi, I'm Emma Yates and I'm councillor for Brentford West, and we've got some exciting large developments at the moment in the ward, and I've got some updates for you on some of those. So the first one is on the GSK development, and this is the report that I've had. The last round of consultations have taken place and were submitted in June along with computer imagery of the development proposals. They are all available to view online if you wish, and I can give you the website address afterwards if you'd like to have a look at that. The next round of co-design sessions have started with focus on the first phase of the development. Feedback on the lighting strategy has been shared to make improvements, and the planning application on that is due to be submitted this summer. The next development that I have an update on is Brentford Police Station. So the planning application for the redevelopment of the site at Brentford Police Station is progressing. Following a detailed pre-planning application process, the application will be submitted to the local planning authority in the coming weeks. It should be noted that the operator of the Arts Centre will go through a procurement process and will follow a phased approach, beginning with research and engagement to shape viable delivery models. This includes drawing on the cultural strategy and local needs analysis to inform potential business models, conducting soft market testing with prospective operators to assess interest, viability and cultural alignment, and developing a service specification and launching a formal procurement process to appoint an appropriate operator. The early stage of this process is being led by the council's culture team, working in collaboration with other council departments and supported by specialist advisors. Next, I'd like to update on Albany Riverside and Charlton House and Albany Parade. The planning application for the redevelopment at Albany Riverside is progressing. Following a detailed pre-planning application process, the application will be submitted to the local planning authority in the coming weeks. Demolition of Charlton House and Albany Parade is progressing as the demolition contractor is now on site. The development team are progressing the revised planning application and will be providing an update to Cabinet in October 2025. And the last update is on Eco World, which used to be Griffin Park, still is Griffin Park. We're still waiting for a planning committee date. We're not sure when this is at the moment, but possibly August. I will update you as soon as I get that information. A contractor has been appointed to undertake the replacement of the boundary fences and walls around the site, and work has been progressing behind the scenes. Letters are due to go out very soon to residents regarding this, and there will be a contractor event in a few weeks' time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Emma. So I am Councillor Marina Sharma, Brentford East Wards. I've been progressing with casework. I had been away for a month due to a family bereavement, so I had left everything in the safe hands of Councillor Mosley here, and I'd like to thank him for that publicly, for the support that he gave me. But I had been doing business as usual with casework whilst I was away, so there is no big updates for me this time round. But if I'd like to pass over now to Catherine.
Thanks, Marina. Councillor Catherine Dunn. I'm councillor for Syon and Brentford Lock. So, following on from Dan's update for the ward, you'll have noticed another new shop in one of the Ballymore blocks, Holland and Barrett, has opened. It's good to see new shops creeping in. It is very slow. It's a slow business. It's been slow in the Ballymore blocks, it's been slow in the council blocks, it was slow getting Lidl opened, but we are slowly getting there in terms of getting our high street populated with shops that people want to use. We've had some really successful events in the ward recently. The Canal Festival, obviously massive thanks to Brentford Voice, Martin here, and everyone else who was involved in that. I think it's the 4th annual Canal Festival now, and it really, it grows every year and has become an absolute feature of the Brentford calendar. So really fantastic to see that happen again. Also, Paul and Miranda and the rest of the Brentford Community Boathouse Collective have been doing lots of events, as you've heard about. They had the regatta, they had an open day that I took part in. I got into a Cornish gig, which was a really great experience. Would recommend anyone to try it. I was going to say about the Thriving Communities Fund for a couple of organisations in the ward, Brentford Community Boathouse and the Mulberry Centre. Obviously Halima stole my thunder there, but it's really great to see those organisations getting funding. And then just in terms of what I've been up to with regards to new developments in the ward, I called in a planning application again on one of the Ballymore blocks due to concerns about the proximity and the noise from the boatyard that might have an effect on the new residential dwelling. That call-in, it went to planning committee, and there was a good, robust discussion there about the application. The application did go through, but I'm pleased that there was able to be a good discussion about it at the planning committee, which hopefully should preempt any issues down the line. I've also been supporting a number of boat dwellers who are affected by the new developments. Then there's the usual CPZs and things, and some of those going ahead, some not, various consultations happening, control parking zones, that is for anyone who's not clear, residence parking. If parking is an issue in your area, please do get in touch and we'll see what we can do. And then just a final update, I guess, around weeds. I know there's been a lot of complaints about weeds, not just in our ward, but across the borough. As many people will know, we have been chemical-free, apart from invasive species, on our weeds for the past 5 years. We have reviewed that policy in light of aggressive weed growth, which this warm weather does cause, which in some cases is causing damage to the road surface and paving, and just can't be kept up with, unfortunately, with manual removal alone. But the teams have been doing a lot of work on that, but we have decided for this year that we will be doing 2 sprays with glyphosate across the borough in order to facilitate that weed removal. Try and get to the roots as well, get the seeds killed off to try and kind of reset things. It's not a full scale back to the full use of glyphosate. We do hope that we can, we are keeping it to a minimum, just as much as necessary, and hope that that will be the case going forward as well. If any residents feel very strongly about not having it sprayed on their street, if you are prepared to get together with your neighbours and remove the weeds yourself, we will not spray that street, but you need to let us know and get in touch in good time. There is an email address which I'm happy to give to anyone at the end of the meeting if that would be helpful.
Thank you. I'm Councillor Mosley. I've also recently been elected, so hopefully I've helped with the last few months with Councillor Sharma, but my update will just be fairly brief as a result. Firstly, during the election, somebody in one of the Brentford towers sort of mentioned the fact that they would like to see us hold a surgery in the towers themselves, because naturally I was promoting some of the services that we can provide as a councillor, and they were news to her. So she was very keen for us to sort of promote what we do within the towers. So the first update is that we've had a change in our surgery, so we now hold it in Cornish House. In addition to the one at Mission Hall. So if anybody would like to see us, that's one of the new changes. Happy to go into detail about some of the things that we've discussed with residents in those surgeries, mostly issues relating to housing, in particular overcrowding, and trying to get their sort of case heard as to why they need to have a slightly larger place. But that is obviously a challenge for lots of families, and we're trying to help with that. In addition to that, I've been meeting with the organisers of the Creative Mile, the art festival that takes place over Brentford, and trying to sort of help facilitate them getting set up for what would be hopefully another fantastic event. So if anybody has a premise that they would like to also volunteer as a place that we could look to set some art in, then please do get in touch with them. And lastly, the Brentford Marina development, there was a delay that I'm here to update you on due to some issues around issuing a licence. I'm told that all the work that was that could have been done prior to that licence had been issued has been completed, but there has been a sort of small delay on that front, which hopefully should be resolved in the near future. But that should be exciting for the next update. Thanks.
Hi, and finally, I'm Theo Denson with my colleague Guy Lambert. I'm one of the two independents in this area. And if any members of the public, whether they're in East, West or Syon, would be interested in a community or a council call for action, or would be interested in seeking funding from the council, I'll be more than happy to discuss that with you afterwards. And I have a collection of business cards which you're happy to go away and use.
Do you have any updates for your ward, Theo?
I don't want to do any duplication of what my two colleagues have said.
So that's a no then. Okay. Now we get to the point of the evening where it's an open forum, which is a question and answer session. This is an opportunity for yourself, members of the public, to address the meeting on general issues relating to the agenda this evening, or any other issues that may not be on the agenda. Please note that any individual caseworks cannot be discussed, but we're happy to discuss this afterwards if that is the case. And also, can I please ask to remember to wait for the microphone to come so that we can hear what you're saying. So now I'd like to open up the floor. Is there anyone with a question? 1 second. Oh, yes, I know.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I live at 200 Boston Manor Road. Since they removed the telephone masks, mobile. We can't get reception at all. It used to be on the main road. There is an office building. Now they put at the bottom where the park is, or green. We can't get any good reception. Is there anything, you can do about it?
Okay, I'm not aware of this, so I'm happy to take it up as casework for you, so we can have a chat after, if that's okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Oh, the lady at the back.
Is that Carol? I can't see.
Yes.
Hi,
I'm
Carol.
just asking what was happening with the old Waterman's Art Centre site that's now empty. What's happening and what's the future for that?
Sure. So there is a planning application. So there's two planning applications. We heard earlier, Councillor Yates, about the police station site, which is just down there. There's an application to build a new art centre there, and on the old Waterman's site to build flats.
Okay, any further questions? Oh, gentleman at the back and then Martin afterwards, please.
Thank you. My name is Javier Blas. I'm a resident. Two questions, if I may. One on the weeds. When we can expect the first spray dealing or mechanical removal of the weeds that they are plugging the roads? I mean, there are some walkways that they are almost impassable at the moment.
What ward are you in, sir?
Brentford Lock. I can point you to particular streets. And the second one, if I may also, are you planning as a borough a policy for EV charging? Because at the moment, national-wide, we have different policies for you can run a cable across the pavement, you cannot run a cable across the pavement, but the Hounslow has not yet decided on a policy to allow neighbours to buy an EV and be able to charge it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy for Councillor Dunn to take those questions.
Thanks. Yes. So on the weeds, they have started already in Hounslow, and I've been told in Isleworth. I need to get hold of the programme, and then I'll get it sent out to the mailing list for the meeting. We still do that, right? Don't we? There isn't. Chris, yeah. Chris, we have a mailing list for everyone who's here, don't we? Yeah. So I'll get hold of the programme and get it sent out, but it should be soon. On the EV charge point, so I'm Cabinet Member for Climate, Environment, Transport, so it comes under my portfolio area. So we have an EV charging strategy that we adopted in 2022. We're in the process of rolling that out. We have procured and are procuring more charge point operators in order to put a large number of charge points across the borough to meet demand and future demand for EV charging. I am aware of the announcement from the government at the weekend regarding the cross pavement gullies. We do not currently allow that in Hounslow, along with the majority of other councils and certainly the majority of London councils. We will be reviewing and looking at what the new announcement and the new funding entails, but it is not currently a part of our policy.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Martin was next, I believe.
Sort of following on Waterman's again, sorry to repeat things. I think it was the last cabinet question time where Councillor Bruce said that hopefully there would be a potential start on the police building site in October. We were told in May 2025 by Councillor Shaheen that a firm will be chosen to operate the site via an open tendering process. This would allow for further work to test the local market and analyse local needs. What work or consultation, if any, has been carried out to establish those local needs? And if any work has been carried out, why has this not been shared with the community? And will any analysis impact on the final design of the Arts Centre?
Yeah, if you've got specific questions, then I can go back to the officers and ask them. Obviously, I've just given an update. It is Metropolitan Thames Valley Housing. No, I know it wasn't the question, but obviously the cabinet member isn't here this evening.
Councillor Shaheen.
I will, yeah, and I'll send you an update personally.
The lady at the front.
Thank you. One question is, if you have a garage, can you put EV charger? Do I need planning permission for that, do you know?
If you have a garage, did you say, do you need planning permission to put in an EV charge point?
Yes.
On your property? No, I don't believe that you do.
Okay. My second question is, and if it rains heavily, all the on the street, Boston Manor Road, drains, manholes, full of leaves, you know, it's going to overflow. I think it needs cleaning those things. I mean, not being cleaned. And you walk underneath these trees, or you see birds dropping on your head, on your clothes. I don't think it's a very nice thing, really. You know what I mean? I know you can't do anything about it, you know, but it's not very fun to have a bird dropping on your head, is it?
It's again something we can discuss after,
You
and I
better
can
do
raise this
something
case to
about
work.
Thank you. Is there any further questions? Oh, well, with that in mind then, thank you all for the questions, for those that have participated this evening. I've got one little update that I'd just like to tell you about, that we actually have Hounslow's Youth Offer at the moment. So following our recent engagement on the Children and Young People's Plan, a clear message emerged: young people want more spaces and opportunities to connect, socialise and feel a sense of belonging. In response, we are reviewing the borough's youth offer. I would urge you all, if you have children or grandchildren, to go onto the council's website on Let's Talk and take part in the survey. Get your youngsters to take part in the survey. I have a 14-year-old. I have had her participate in this over the weekend, and we had some very good ideas that came from her. If you're unable to go online, you can request paper copies of all consultations and surveys, and you can call the council's telephone line, or speak to someone within our libraries who will be able to help you to be able to complete this. It's very important. Can I also ask you, on the back or on your chair, you will have the forum questionnaire. If I can ask you to fill that in so that we can hand it over to Christopher and his team, I'll be really appreciative. Thank you for not being so hard on me on my first occasion. And so I'd like to thank you. We actually have the minutes of the meeting held on the 31st of March, and if there's any matters arising, do we agree then minutes?
Agreed.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Thank you, Dan. And our next point on the agenda is any urgent business, which I accept for consideration on grounds of urgency. I haven't been told of any. So with that in mind, I would like to just say to you that the next area of forum is... Sorry?
September.
It's up here, yes, I did. Yeah, 15th of September. Can I also ask you also to go on to the Let's Talk forum to obviously to give your ideas through for the presentation that Krista Jarvis gave earlier on as well. And thank you for this evening, and thank you to those that presented this evening.